I was talking with Shay a couple days ago, and one of the things we talked about was how we all wait in life for things to get easier. Think in your own life, if you waited for something to get easier, oh, I just got to get through this and then it'll be easy. I just got to get through preseason and then it'll be okay. I've just got to get through my junior year of high school and then classes are going to get easier. Or I've just got to get to my spring and my senior year of college and it's going to be easier. It's what we do. We wait for stuff to get easier. It will never get easier. What happens is you handle hard better. That's what happens. Most people think that it's going to get easier. Life is going to get easier. Basketball is going to get easier. School's going to get easier. It never gets easier. What happens is you become someone that handles hard stuff better. So that's a mental shift that has to occur in each of your brains. It has to. Because if you go around waiting for stuff to get easier in life, it's never going to happen. And then what happens? Oh, it's so hard. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, this, I don't know when is it going to be easy for me? Oh, it's easy for other people. It's not. It's hard. And the second we see you handling stuff, handling hard better, what are we going to do? We're going to make it harder. We're going to make it harder. Because we're preparing for you for when you leave here. Not just basketball and life. And if you think life, when you leave college, is going to be all of a sudden get easy because you graduated and you got a Duke degree, it's not going to get easier. It's going to get harder. So make yourself a person that handles hard well. Not someone that's waiting for the easy. Because if you have a meaningful pursuit in life, it will never be easy. If you're trying to win a championship, if you're trying to have a family, ask your parents. Do you think it was ever easy for them to raise kids? Karen, is it easy? It's not. Any meaningful pursuit in life, if you want to be successful at it, it goes to the people that handle hard well. Those are the people that get the stuff they want. People that wait around for easy, you probably see them at the bus stop. They're waiting for the easy bus to come around. The easy bus never comes around. You've got to handle hard. Okay, so don't get discouraged through this time. If it's hard, don't get discouraged. It's supposed to be. And don't wait for it to be, I just got to get through the summer. And then it'll all of a sudden get easy in the fall. No, it won't. It won't get easy in the fall. So make yourself someone that handles hard well. And then whatever comes at you, you're going to be great.
Coach Carol Lawson, welcome to Personal and Professional Best.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So what we have in common, right, is not basketball. We have in common the great privilege of leading, affecting people. I have 150 souls I'm responsible for at Supreme Lending. And you have the souls and all the influence that you have here at Duke. We both have in common, though, this one thing. We want to affect people and leave them better, which is exactly why I invited you to be a part of our program today. You've got this mad amount of success. Everything about you, every place you've been, everything you've done as a player, as a coach, as a broadcaster. Oh my God. And then there's millions of people following you online right now with Handle Hard Better, right? So I was going to ask you how you do it, and I will. But I first wanted to invite our audience to get to know you a little bit better. So tell us your story, your childhood story. Where did it start, and who are the people that influenced you the most?
I grew up in the D.C. area. We call it the DMV, right outside of Washington, D.C., Alexandria, Virginia. It's a suburb of the city. And my mom and dad started me at an early age in athletics. I have two sisters. I'm the middle child. Older sister who's 2 years older than me, and a younger sister who's 6 years younger than me. And we didn't have a ton of rules in my house growing up, but the ones we had needed to be adhered to. My dad was in the Marine Corps, served 3 tours in Vietnam, Semper Fi. And he was not active in service when I was born. He was already out. But I like to tell people I felt like I was in the Marines for the first 18 years of my life because it was tough. And the demands,
the standard,
that he placed, the standard, the discipline, the expectation that you would be amongst the best all of the time. And so that was Monday in our house, and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. That's how it was. And as a child, you don't understand all of that. In fact, at times, when there is high standards and high expectations placed on us, we can rebel against them or crumble under them because we don't have the greater understanding of why they're there and what the intention of those are. And I got to, early on, I got to a point as a kid where I wanted to exceed them. I had a drive to exceed them. And as I grew up, I played a lot of different sports, but ended up settling on basketball. Was the one that gave me the most joy, was the one that I really liked the team concept because I played individual sport and I played team sport. And basketball just, I don't know, I felt different when I played it. And I loved the team aspect and I loved competing on both ends. And so I grew up and that's a great area for basketball. Got a chance to play for some great youth coaches and great high school coaches. And then ultimately went off to college at the University of Tennessee.
So standard, discipline, accountability. What I've experienced is when you don't see that, you see people that are not succeeding. When you do see it in an organization or in an individual, you always see success taking place because there is a standard and because people are disciplined to do what they need to do, when they need to do it, and how they need to do it. And then there's somebody, dad, coach, that is the accountability partner that's making sure. Is that a good formula?
I mean, it was a good formula for me. And in my life, when I've been the person trying to adhere to standards or reach expectation, or I've been the person setting standards or setting expectation, it is the one that I know works. I haven't tried a ton of other ways. I tend to be, if I know something works, I'm going to do that. And that's why I went to play in college where I went to play in college, because it was a similar mindset and way of teaching and leading people. So yes, I do believe that structure is really important. And, you know, I talk about this with my players, like there's structure and then there's freedom. You know, there's discipline and there's creativity. And what happens is sometimes people will think of themselves as one or the other. Like I'm a structured, routine, disciplined person, or I'm a creative, free-spirited person. And you may be more tailored to one of those things, but they can't exist without the other. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people mistake. In order to be a creative person, you have to have some semblance of structure. You can't just walk around saying, I'm creative. Like there's a foundation that you have to have, and understanding that foundation allows you to have creativity.
Is the biggest challenge that you have when you bring in young players, you know, they're 18 years old, they come into the organization, and that was a part of what your response was in the Handle Hard video was, hey, you know, it doesn't get easier, you know, and it's just about conquering hard and making, you know, success take place because life is hard. Is the biggest challenge that you have is that when young folks show up here, they've not been Semper Fi'd? You know, they've lived without structure, accountability, and that you then become the coach that installs it?
Sometimes. Like I think when you're leading people, they're all going to come to you with certain strengths and certain weaknesses. And the 18-year-olds that come, they all are coming with different deficiencies. And so some of them have, you know, been in structure and routine and are very disciplined. Some of them are not. So I think we see kind of like the wide spectrum. They have, most players by the time they get to college and by the time they get to Duke, certainly, they've experienced hard in their life already. It was hard for them in school, or hard for them at home, or hard for them in sport. Maybe they've dealt with an injury. Maybe they've dealt with loss. Maybe they've dealt with not having a lot of resources. Maybe they've dealt with having a lot of resources, but not having as much drive as they need to have.
Can't get around hard, can you?
You can't, right?
No.
And it presents, it's as sneaky. It presents itself in different ways, you know? And so what I'm trying to do when a player first comes in is figure out them as best as I can. Where are they strong? Where are they weak? Where are the deficiencies? And then how do I fix those, or how do I get them to reach the standard expectation that we have? It's going to be different for each player, and it's not a cookie cutter approach. It can't be. The standards and the expectations are the same. They're the same. They have to be. I can't have a different standard for you that I have for somebody else if I'm trying to build a team.
Sure.
How I get you to reach those standards, that's where it's different. Right? What's going to push your buttons, what's going to motivate you, what's going to get you prepared is going to be different than the next player. That's where I can be different. And some people see that as treating someone differently. That is.
It's not fair, right?
Yeah, I am treating you differently.
Right.
But your standard and your expectations.
Because you're just trying to complete that other person, right? You're just trying to bring them whatever the ingredient is that you need to contribute that gets them to wind up being better than they would have been had you not been involved. You're just trying to find that, whatever that ingredient is. But the standard's always the same.
The standard's the same. So like I can treat you differently, but I hold you to the same thing.
So your dad, did he wind up, is he the voice of influence in your life?
I think I've been blessed to have many voices of influence. I think without question, my parents, both my mom and my dad, are the strongest voices of influence in my life in different ways.
Yep.
In different ways. My
dad and mom, what did they do?
My dad worked for the government for a long time. That's why we were in Washington, D.C. area. And so, got an opportunity to be around, all the different monuments and all the different functions that Washington, D.C. had to offer. And he did a really cool thing that I try to model in different ways with my team. But when I was young, really young, so not just like a kid, like 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, my dad would take me places and to functions to get me used to what those rooms, those people felt like. And he was always putting me in rooms where there was people that had massive success.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So he'd bring me to the legislative chamber inside the Capitol, okay, where our representatives vote. And at the top of that chamber is the Speaker of the House chair, where the Speaker sits. And most of us only see that room when it's the State of the Union, right? And you see the Speaker sitting up there. And he would bring me into this room, and it would be empty. He worked in security, so he knew all the security guards. And security is a lot less tight than it is now in those buildings. And he would walk me up. And if you were there at that time, and I don't know if this is still the case, I haven't walked in the chamber in probably 35 years, okay? But back then, when you'd walk into the chamber, there was a velvet rope around the Speaker's chair. Because you can't just walk in there and sit in the Speaker's chair. That's the Speaker's chair. The Speaker of the House was Tip O'Neill at the time. And my dad would make me memorize those things, those facts. Who were the people that were in power? Not just the president. It's easy. Everybody knows who the president is. Who are the other people? And I was 5 and 6 years old. I can vividly remember this. And I would walk into the chamber, and he would say to me, "Hey, go sit in the Speaker's chair."
Wow.
And go look out, And I'd go up there, and I was small enough to go under the rope, not over the rope. That's how little I was. I'd go under the rope, and I would sit in the Speaker's chair, and I would look out.
And imagine you were going to sit in that.
It's empty, right? It's empty, but you felt powerful. He would take me to the White House if the White House was having a function, and I would get a chance to meet different people, different dignitaries, or different athletes, or different people of consequence. And constantly putting me in situations where I saw and I could feel, the success, and I could feel the drive. And so I'm human, right? Like you tend to now want to achieve.
Yeah.
You see it, you can see it. It's not tangible because I'm seeing you, right? I'm feeling you. I'm shaking your hand, and I'm now like, okay, not only can I do this, like this is something that I want to do, and I want to attack. And so he did that throughout, my childhood, and it was in different arenas. It wasn't always sport. It wasn't just taking me to basketball games. And that got me very comfortable in all different types of arenas. And I think that played a huge part.
What role mom play?
My mom is like the greatest person that I know, greatest human that I know. She is what you would want someone to be. She's very empathetic. She's very kind. Kindness is probably the thing that I admire the most about her. She is genuinely authentic and very excited for other people's successes. You know, and it's hard to find people like that. It's hard to find someone that when someone else is having a great day or a great moment, that they're in the moment with them and they're celebrating it, instead of someone sitting back and thinking, I wish that were
was
me.
my moment.
Yeah, I wish that were me. Or trying to interject into the moment to make a small part of that person's moment about them, you know? And so she is very content with being in the background and very content with helping others and rooting for others. And she doesn't know a lot about basketball, even though she's probably watched more basketball than anybody. She's uninterested in learning the intricacies of it. She's most interested in learning everybody's name that she's going to encounter so that she can remember it. She's most interested in remembering the kids or the grandkids' names of the people that she encounters so that she can have genuine interaction with them and conversation about them than she is about what play we ran or, you know, how bad someone played.
The combination of dad and mom that you had, is unbelievable blessing.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, mom, the selfless, unconditional lover, and dad, the ultimate accountability partner, setting standard over and over and over again. When did you know you were good playing basketball? I mean, when you were young, was it right away? You just separated from the crowd and everyone told you you were that good and you knew it? When did that happen?
I knew, knowing I was good, I knew pretty early that things came easy to me. It wasn't even a comparison thing to other people. Like I knew that I could read something and remember it quickly, or I knew that when my dad would give me problems to solve, like I could solve them, and I could think about problems, you know, layered than just an answer. In sport, when he would teach me things, I could pick it up pretty quickly. I couldn't compare at that time, like, was I picking it up quicker than another 5-year-old? Or, you know, because you don't know that. You're not even thinking that. And then when I started to play on teams, I knew that it was easier for me to pick up things. And then that helped me teach it to other players too. So I became, because of my talent, I think it helped me become a teacher, because in school and in basketball, in sport, I wasn't just basketball at that time, I was a lot of times ahead of people in my class and people on my teams. And so when you're ahead, they either give you extra work to keep you occupied, or they task you with teaching and leading others. And so a lot of times in practice, I spent a lot of my time teaching other people that I played with because I had already learned it. And I think that helped me to become a coach, you know, because as a player, I spent a lot of my time teaching as well. You
know, the best players don't always make the best coaches. What's been fascinating in kind of studying you is that you were a great player and now you're a great coach and great leader. It just is very unique to see it. So
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I hear that a lot, and I see that a lot. I see that commentary a lot. People will look at ex-players, and especially top players, and not the track record maybe isn't as good. And I've always found that interesting because I think when in other like places does your past ultimately determine your future? Right? Like it doesn't. And so if someone's a great player, that doesn't mean they can't be a great coach. If someone wasn't a great player, that doesn't mean they can't be a great coach, right?
Yeah.
You can't use that. What it comes down to, and so when I became a coach, I heard all of those things. And I just, kind of smiled on the inside because I know what I was born to do. I was born to lead. I know that. I know that from when I was young. And the experiences that I've had make me equipped and make me ready to do that. And it doesn't matter. Like I've always felt, and I've been coached by great leaders, and I've been fortunate enough through my dad growing up, and then even now, even more so, I've been around great leaders. You've been around great leaders. Yeah. We could lead anything, right?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter the company. Yep. Doesn't matter the sport. Doesn't matter the sector of business.
Yeah, it's about sisterhood. It's about mission. It's about purpose. It's about meeting every single person where their story is and lifting them up and having them find a way to contribute to whatever the greater sisterhood or our mission is.
Yeah, so you can, when it misses the point sometimes, when you say, oh, well, will they be a good coach or not? It's really, were they born to lead? Yep. And if they are, then they're going to find a way to be successful. Does that mean they will be successful every single year of their career? Does that mean they are successful in perpetuity? No, it doesn't. None of us are entitled to that. We have to work for that every single day. But that's how I'm set up. That's how I was born. That's what I do. And every day I'm excited to do it. And I think that's what's helped make me successful.
So everybody in our audience, all the folks that work for me and all the people that will see this program, they all want the same thing. They want to be the best personally and the best professionally in their life. And since you have been embodying that and living it, and you've witnessed it, you've been on the best teams, you've seen the best players, you've coached some of the best players, you've been coached by the best coaches. What I want to ask you is, what do the best do? What do they do? Like if you break it down and say, no matter what, best coach, best player, what do they do?
Well, they do a lot of things, but if I would boil it down to things that I think are really important and great places to start. Because if you want to be great, you have to start somewhere. I might have been born to lead, but I wasn't born great. You develop into your greatness or into the elite area. To me, it starts with competence. Like before you can be great and before you can lead, you have to be very, very competent in what you're being tasked with doing. So what am I in? I'm a coach. Before I was a coach, I was a player. I had to be really competent in the skills that are required for me to be a good player. I can't skip over that and the time it takes to develop that and hope that I can be great and then lead people. So it starts with devoting time, lots of time, into developing the skills that are needed for whatever you're doing.
Sure.
And so that I think people try to skip over or they try to speed up. And it takes hours and hours and hours and hours to devote to be great at something. And so you can't skip that step. You can't. You have to do that. And so there's this period, it's almost like an incubation period that we all are in our lives, that we have to develop those things. And you want to get to the end, or you want to get to the promised land, and you want to get to that because the promised land in the end usually has more compensation, more resources, more attention, right? More adoration, it has all those things. And so people want to get there first. And there's a period of development. And that period of development is going to be different lengths for different people. That's what takes people out of that period early, is that they're so concerned that someone else's incubation period was shorter than theirs.
Right, yeah.
They're shorter than theirs. You want to know why? Because they're not being prepared for what you're being prepared for. They're not.
Amazing.
What you're being prepared for is different than what someone else is being prepared for. So for you to compare lengths of an incubation period is futile. It makes zero sense because what you're called to do is going to be different than what another person is called to do. So one of the biggest ways to fail and fail quickly is to decide that you decide it's time to be out of that incubation period before you're supposed to be.
You're talking to your players right now.
And then I'm talking
to people,
everybody.
right? Yeah.
Because you jump out of that early and now stuff comes at you and you're not ready. Development, spending time, becoming competent in every area. I'll give you a story.
Please.
You know, when I got to the University of Tennessee, I played for Pat Summitt. You made a comment, I played for great coaches. I played for the greatest coach of all time in any sport.
Wow.
Okay, and Coach Summitt. I get there. I am introverted. I'm still introverted. She didn't change that. She was good. She wasn't that good. Okay, she couldn't change me from an introvert to an extrovert. But I am uncomfortable with speaking in front of people. I am uncomfortable with talking about my feelings and my goals and my desires out loud in front of people. And that sounds like a simple thing. It's really hard to do. Because when you speak out loud to people about your goals and your desires, you're opening yourself up for ridicule and you're opening yourself up for everyone else to know you failed. Right? It's easy to keep a goal quiet. You know why we keep goals quiet? Because we don't want people to know we didn't reach them. Right? You set a goal in your mind and you don't reach it. No one knows if you didn't. You set a goal in mind and you tell people. And you don't reach it.
It's a whole different story.
It's a whole different story. I say my stuff out loud all the time.
Me too.
Right? Because I'm not afraid of the smoke. I'm not afraid of failing. I'm not afraid of it. But back then I wasn't. I was 18. I kept everything inside.
So you had the goals, you kept them inside.
Yes.
But announcing them?
Announcing them, but not even just announcing goals, like announcing feelings, like talking about this, being transparent about the process, about what it is. I was not comfortable speaking in front of my teammates, my peers, other people, certainly strangers. So she identified that, and it goes back to what we talked about earlier in the conversation. As a coach, as a leader, can you identify the deficiencies of the people that you're tasked with leading? And then not only can you identify it, can you now intercede and can you now help them grow in that? Because sometimes people think leading is just telling people where they're deficient. That's not leading. That's called commentating. I did it for 16 years. That's what that is, right?
Yeah.
Like anybody can look at someone else and say, hey, they're deficient in X, Y, and Z. That doesn't make you a leader. What makes you a leader is you can identify the deficiency. And now I can challenge and work with you and teach you how to get better in that area. That's leading. So that's what Coach did for me. And so she used to challenge me in that area. How did she do that? Because again, that's the next step. Like now I've identified the deficiency in someone. Now I've said, hey, I'm going to help you fix that. Now I have to strategically put together a plan to do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how are we going to do that? I can't just say, hey, go fix this. Well, what did she do? She made me take a public speaking course.
Awesome.
Oh, I was so nervous. I'd be so nervous going to that course. I was so nervous. She made me go to press conferences after games. She put all of these things in front of me that I had to grow in it. And now, 25 years later, I would say communicating and speaking is one of my greatest strengths as a coach and as a leader. But I don't get to that without that intercession by the coach, because I just go along the way that it is. And so that's what great coaching, that's what leading can do to a player. And now that I sit in this seat, I'm in the seat opposite where I was 25 years ago. Right? I was the player. Coach Summitt was the coach. Now it's flipped. I know how life-changing and transformational something like that can be because I lived it. And now every day I get to wake up and try to do that for them. Not try, that's what I do. Where's the better job? Where's the better place? It's not. It's here. And so the days are spent trying to figure that out. Basketball happens. Basketball is the vehicle. Basketball happens. But the days are spent through basketball trying to figure out where's her deficiency? Where can I help her? Where is she struggling right now? Where can I help her? How do I strategically put a plan in place to be able to get this young person to be able to be successful and have that be a strength. One of the biggest fallacies of life is that we're ever a finished product. And we send messaging throughout our life and throughout society where like you're done, you've made it. 18-year-olds aren't finished products. We know that because we've been 18. 25-year-olds aren't finished products. 50-year-olds aren't finished products. 60-year-olds aren't finished products. 70-year-olds aren't finished products. There's always room to grow.
Something
and improve.
to do better.
Always. A lot of times with people, they are so fixated on engineering the perfect environment for themselves.
You rarely hear people that are on the journey to best complaining about anything.
You don't go to a guest home and complain about the chicken.
Yeah.
It's hard to eradicate negative thoughts. It's hard to eradicate complaints from coming into your head. This is going to be so hard. We get it. It's difficult. And let's also understand that the person I am now is way different in your industry than the person that they were 2 years ago, because they've been through the desert.
Yeah.